Honduran President Xiomara Castro reaffirmed that on Sunday, November 30th, the people will be able to enjoy a peaceful electoral day. And the Chinese government urged the United States to lift the unilateral and illegal coercive sanctions against Venezuela and called for the maintenance of peace in Latin America and the Caribbean. Also, Russia, the spokesperson for President Vladimir Putin, confirmed that they have already received the parameters of the peace plan agreed upon with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Geneva. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from TeleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. And this Thursday, President Xiomara Castro reaffirmed that on Sunday, November 30th, the people will be able to enjoy a peaceful electoral day. While right-wing Ibero-American governments attempt to destabilize the electoral process and repeat their interventionist positions, the head of state reiterates that the government has fulfilled all the functions assigned by law to guarantee an electoral process in freedom, peace, and transparency. The president reaffirmed this from the Juan Manuel Galvez Airport in Roatán, one of the projects her government will hand over to the next administration. And now, to offer a wider spectrum about how Honduras is preparing for the upcoming general elections, we contact our special envoy, Jorge Estosa. Hello, Jorge. How is the country preparing for this democratic process?
Thank you. We are less than 48 hours away from the electoral election in, we're talking about Honduras, and here in Tegucigalpa we're following with a special coverage every minute of what's going on, and in helping us to put in perspective precisely the few hours left to this process and a process that it has a very peculiar characteristic. We are not having a runoff in this election. It's going to be a direct election. The person who receives the most of the vote is absolutely declared the president of the country. But precisely to put in perspective all the details that I have been living in the last week and in the last hours, we have the privilege to have with us Russell Garay. Russell is master in public policies and also is a member of the electoral campaign of the presidential candidate Ritzy Moncada. Ritzy is the official candidate of the Libre Party, the party of President Xiomara Castro. Russell, a warm welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Russell, is there something weird, unusual, unexpected that happened in this final stretch towards the election on Sunday at the level of the electoral campaign?
Yeah, what really sets apart this election between these candidates is that for the first time in history we have an endorsement of a U.S. president for a candidate in Honduras, and the candidate is Nasri Afura. But it's also a surprise even for the opposition in the country, because
the President Trump.
Yeah, because the President Trump is endorsing a candidate who is backed by the National Party, the party of Juan Orlando Hernandez, who is the former president of Honduras, that has been convicted as a drug dealer in the U.S. So it's quite shocking for all the parts in this election, because for the first time we have such an open endorsing and such an open intervention in the country. And the second compare is that we are looking how the U.S. is trying to go back in history and restoring the National Party that was the third place in the polls, and it's something that we have never seen before, and we are quite still in this moment trying to convey an answer for the electorate in the country, because one of the main issues in Honduras is we have a lot of migration. At least 1 million people of Honduras live in the U.S., so we have a lot of a lot of discussion about the U.S. policies and how they impact Honduras. So this is once in history election for this reason.
Do you think that the endorsement of President Trump that said you should vote precisely then, you should vote for Tito, como ejemplos Tito Asfura, do you think that is going to help him? We're talking about the candidate, or is going to at the end of the day could hurt him?
I think that it's going to help him in a way, but it's hurting most of all Salvador Narrala, who is the candidate has been trying to obtain an endorsement of the U.S. government. He has traveled to the U.S.
Also from the right.
Yeah, he has traveled to the U.S. at least 10 times, and he has met with Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar, for example, multiple times, and still didn't obtain an endorsement. So it's actually really hurting him in the polls. And for the case of the Nasri Afura, the main issue is that we come from a recent history of 12 years of a dictatorship of the National Party, and he's a member of the National Party. He's well known as a prominent member and someone who actually backed Juan Orlando Hernandez. So it's quite hard for him to obtain more votes at this moment, even when the endorsement comes from Donald Trump, because the National Party is way back in the histories, has been pointed out as the most corrupt political institute in the country. So he's not really obtaining a lot of a favor in this endorsement, but Salvador Narrala is actually quite hurt for this endorsement.
The campaign that you are working with, we're talking about the Ritzy Moncada campaign, the successor of President Xiomara Castro, Partido Libre, has been expressing concern about the transmission of the votes at the end of the electoral day. Why?
Well, the National Electoral Council is integrated by members of the different parties. So we have two members we have one member of each party, and we have two parties who are aligned to the right, the National Party and the Liberal Party. And we also have the Parti Libre, but we are in a minority when it comes to decision making. So they have been exposed because an audio and a call log from these members of the party, of the National Party and the Partido Liberal, has been leaked, and in this audio they are plotting an interference in the transmission system of the electoral vote. So
they call it TREP.
Yeah, they call it TREP. So it's a preliminary result of the election, but they plan to proclaim Salvador Narrala as the president of Honduras.
As a winner.
As a winner. And it's a clear plot that has been exposed, and we are arguing against it. With the general attorney of the country has been quite strong about this issue. He has claimed that these audios are real, and it's a real risk to the democracy of the country. So we are asking our people and the Council of the National Electorate to count each ballot and not use this system to proclaim the winner of the election.
According to the polls, the candidate that follows the President Xiomara Castro, we're talking again Ritzy Moncada, she is the winner in the polls. We're talking about the person who has the more acceptance in the polls nationwide. Do you believe that what the polls anticipate is going to materialize? We're talking that by 9 o'clock that could be the first indication that results are coming, or a trend. And then at the end of Sunday, we're going to have a winner. And that winner, for the case of this question, is Ritzy Moncada. The two other candidates of the right are going to accept the result?
I think that the election is going to be quite a struggle for all parts, because in one hand we have the candidate of Libre, Rix Moncada, who is leading, who is succeeding the most successful government in history of Honduras. We have reduced poverty in a marginal impact for the country. We have consolidated the national entities and the the infrastructure of the country. So it's a quite popular government all around the world. It's one of the four president has most popularity in the country. And the other hand, we have this National Party and the Liberal Party, who have been part of the coup d'etat in 2009 and the frauds in the election of 2013 and 2017. So we are not sure of what's going to happen in the night of the election, because we are comfortable in our advantage in the polls and we believe that we are going to win. But it's going to be a struggle of how we certificate this election, because the National Council of Election is, we have a minority of party, and we also have the intervention of the US and other countries trying to rig the election. So it's going to be quite a night, and at least we are trying to intermediate with the candidates to let them know that we cannot go back to the fraud of 2017 that led the country to quite social unrest, and people were killed in the streets and defending democracy, and we don't want to go back to that. But as a party, we are being responsible in the way that we struggle with this issue, and we are being transparent about the risk of this election, because we want people to be sure that at this moment the electoral system is going to declare someone else as winner, and we cannot ignore this. So we believe that at the end, when all the ballots are counted and the election is certificated, we will have Rix Moncada as president, but it's going to take some time.
Thanks very much, Russell.
Thank you for having me.
We're talking with Russell Garay. He is a master in public policies. He was helping us to put in perspective what is going on in the route in this final stretch to Sunday's electoral day in here Honduras, and here in the capital, in Tegucigalpa, where we are starting today that special coverage. So we get back to you now.
Thank you, Gestoso, for all the information. And after this contact with our correspondent, Jorge Gestoso, regarding Honduras general elections, we have a short break coming up. But first, remember, you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Let's go to Japan. The country faces protest over Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's interventionist remarks about Taiwan. Citizens are demanding she retract her words and resign. Our correspondent Bruno Falsi brings us more details.
Hello to the companions of TeleSUR and all the audience watching us in this transmission. I am in Beijing now to report you that groups of protesters gathered in front of Okinawa Prefectural Government Building in Japan. This in response to the comments made by the Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi regarding Taiwan. During the protest, demonstrators demanded that Takaichi retract her statements and resign. They also emphasized that the countries need to uphold its pacifist constitution, and pointed out that Okinawa hosts numerous U.S. military bases, which has negatively impacted the local population, including the contamination of water sources. The protest stem from November 7, when Takaishi stated that any potential use of force by China against Taiwan could constitute a survival-threatening situation. This for Japan. Make it clear that her words reflected the government position. The demonstration brought together citizens, civic groups, and academics who expressed concerns about the impacts and the implications of the Prime Minister's comments and their potential effects on regional security and stability. With this news, we go back with you in the studios in La Habana, Cuba.
And in other information, the Chinese government urged the United States to lift the unilateral and illegal coercive sanctions against Venezuela and called for the maintenance of peace in Latin America and the Caribbean. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning reiterated Beijing's support for the Bolivarian people, criticizing the constant aggressions and threats from Washington. In her statement, the spokesperson confirmed the Asian giant's opposition to any external interference in Venezuela's internal affairs under any pretext. The Chinese diplomat also indicated that unilateral sanctions without basis in international law or authorization from the United States National Security Council violate peace, stability, and development.
China opposes unilateral sanctions that have no basis in international law or authorization of the UN Security Council and the interference of external forces in Venezuela's internal affairs under any pretext. We call on the U.S. side to lift the illicit unilateral sanctions and choose the course of action that is conducive to peace, stability, and development in Latin America and the Caribbean region.
And now we change of topic and go to Russia. The spokesperson for President Vladimir Putin confirmed that they have already received the parameters of the peace plan agreed upon with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Geneva. In this regard, Dmitry Peskov confirmed receipt of the document, specifying that it contains the main parameters and that the government will discuss it in next week in a meeting in Moscow. Peskov did not provide further details, asserting that Russia would not engage in public megaphone discussions, adding that given the legitimacy issues surrounding the Ukrainian president, the government has decided to act with caution. This plan, proposed by the United States and revealed last week, includes the recognition of Crimea and Donbass as part of Russian territory and Kiev's renunciation of several key categories of weapons. And Pope Leo XIV continues his official visit to Turkey. Our correspondent Yunus Uner provides us with more details about the agenda of the Catholic Supreme Pontiff.
Good afternoon from the city of Iznik here in Turkey, where the Pope Leo XIV has just finished minutes ago his last public activity on his second day of journey to Turkey, and he did so right behind me above the ruins of the St. Neophytos Basilica, a historic site which was where history was made in the past of the Christianity, when in the year 325 more than 200 bishops gathered here together to take very important decisions regarding Christian theology. Among them was to determine that Jesus Christ is of divine nature. They also made several regulations regarding the church organization, administration, and also determined, for instance, the date of Easter. So this is a very historic site, and it is since being a symbol of Christian unity, and this was on display today as well, because Pope Leon XIV was joined, for instance, by the Patriarch of the Constantinople Church, the Greek Orthodox Church, Bartolomeo I, and also by the representatives of the Armenian Church here in Turkey, Armenian Orthodox Church, the Assyrian Church. They were all present here side by side, and that was a display of Christian unity was presented to the public here, and that was also emphasized by Leon XIV in his speech. He said, no matter what religion, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what nationality, all mankind is created by God, and thus, for that reason, all mankind must be in brotherhood and in harmony. And he also rejected in his speech all violence that was justified on religious grounds as unacceptable theologically and in terms of humanity. This was a strong message of Christian unity here displayed in the city of Iznik. Ancient name is Nicaea. It's actually very present today in every temple. The Nicaean Creed comes exactly from this place, from this history. So this was a very important ceremony that the Pope participated in, and actually his predecessor Francis also wanted to come here, but he passed away in April this year. After finishing the ceremony, the Pope returned to Istanbul. He will there have a private meeting with bishops and will continue publicly his program tomorrow in the city of Istanbul.
And after this report from our correspondent Yunus Suner, we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.